$1,500 customer cash. And 4Runner is ready to go anywhere, anytime. Don't miss this chance. Toyota's 2001 clearance, going on coast to coast.
Anne Heche's wedding and the top scandals of the summer. Next, ET.
Walking out on the world to stay in step with an ally. Hateful language aimed at Israel prompts the United States to quit a conference on racism. America celebrates a traditional Labor Day while American workers face an uncertain future as baby boomers retire. And the deadly seashore. Despite a father's courage, a shark attack ends in tragedy.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
And good evening. Dan is off tonight. I'm John Roberts. For the United States today, all the best intentions and high-minded goals of a United Nations conference against racism were buried by an avalanche of what Secretary of State Colin Powell branded hateful language. That language was aimed at Israel, cast as a racist, colonialist state for its policies toward the Palestinians. So tonight, as Cheryl Atkinson reports, the U.S. and the Israeli delegations are headed home from the conference in Durban, South Africa.
The U.S. pulled out of the UN World Conference Against Racism because of what it called racism against Israel. Holocaust survivor Tom Lantos was on the team.
It will prove impossible for the American delegation to continue participating at this conference.
The main dispute was over a formal declaration labeling Israeli Zionism, the movement to establish and maintain a Jewish state, as racist.
Whatever declaration comes out of such a conference will be on the books, will be spread around the world. And this becomes not only a source of anti-Israel activity, but I would argue as well anti-Semitic activity as well.
In explaining the U.S. pullout, Secretary of State Colin Powell argued, you do not combat racism by conferences that produce declarations containing hateful language. The Arab response was curt.
We have no response. It is a sovereign decision. Who wants to come, should come, who wants to go out, go out.
Arab nations said Israel could not be absolved from what they view as crimes against Palestinians. Israel, which also walked out of the conference, said it was being unfairly singled out. All sides agree the conference had a noble goal, and that the big tragedy is that many race issues on which there was common ground were overshadowed by the long-simmering dispute between Arabs and Israelis. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, the State Department.
President Bush spent part of this Labor Day courting the workers. As White House correspondent Bill Plant reports, the president was out talking to labor unions and talking up his economic policies.
President Bush launched a new campaign to convince voters that he knows the nation's economy is in trouble. Looking to the coming fight over the budget and to his own political future, Mr. Bush told union workers in Wisconsin and Michigan today that fixing the economy is at the top of his agenda.
For the past 12 months, our growth in our economy has been anemic at best. It's been a paltry 1% over 12 months. That's not good enough for America.
The president spent this Labor Day in 2 industrial states which he lost in last year's presidential race. Mr. Bush, who got barely a third of the labor vote, hopes to split rank-and-file union members away from organized labor's traditional support for Democrats.
And I understand we don't necessarily agree on every single issue, but we agree to listen. And I agree about this, that you got a good man running the Teamsters in Jimmy Hoffa.
The Teamsters endorsed Al Gore, but they've supported Republican presidential candidates in the past. Union President James Hoffa, who was not with the president today in Detroit, says his union is just being pragmatic and working with the White House on key issues.
We're going to be players. We're going to be talking to all sides about what's best for organized labor.
But the Teamsters and the White House don't always agree about what's best for labor.
We're talking to the president. We're talking to the White House. We're going to continue to talk to other leaders on the Democratic side. We basically want to put together a group of people that want to move this country forward.
And the White House will be listening. George W. Bush is well aware that his father lost to Bill Clinton in 1992, in part because voters believed that the Republican in the White House didn't understand just how badly ordinary folks were hurting in that down economy. John?
Bill Plant on Labor Day politics tonight from the White House. Some of the hurt in today's economy was reflected in the Labor Day parade in Pittsburgh. While some in the ranks were too young to even spell union, some of the faithful in the Steelworkers Union were old enough to know that the future spells trouble. And big steel is just one of the industries hit by hard times. Lee Cowan has a Labor Day look at where the old jobs have gone and where the new ones are coming from in tonight's Eye on America.
For Joanne Keeler, this Labor Day is more like a Memorial Day, remembering what was.
It came up the conveyor belts, went on to the ovens that are no longer there.
For 27 years, she worked in steel. But like hundreds of thousands of other manufacturing jobs this year, hers disappeared, just like the mill.
I know that I'm out of a job. I know that my husband is out of a job. I know that my friends are not working because of the economy.
In fact, over the last year, some 800,000 manufacturing jobs have been lost. Slumping demand and higher energy prices have forced companies to cut production by more than 4.5%. But manufacturing isn't alone. Layoffs are stretching into every sector of the economy, new and old, white collar as well as blue.
You have across the board, from the new economy to the old economy, from the East Coast to the West Coast and the Midwest, every industry and every occupation is suffering from these layoffs.
And consumers are starting to notice. Spending was almost flat in July. So for the first time in nearly 9 months, consumer confidence in the economy is now beginning to wane.
If consumers get cold feet, if consumers start worrying that they're deep in debt and they may be losing their jobs, this slowdown could turn into a full-fledged recession.
Ironically, the future could hold another problem. Not a lack of jobs, but a lack of laborers to fill them. Ed Potter runs a business-supported think tank whose most recent study predicts the workplace could face a shortage of nearly 27 million employees by 2031, made worse by retiring baby boomers, creating at least 61 million more jobs than are available right now.
We simply don't have enough people in place to replace those workers who are retiring who have a lot of experience and skills.
But for Joanne Keeler, the future is now. By the end of the week, her unemployment benefits run out for good. Her 7-month search for a job is already 1 week too long.
Our golden years were going to be comfortable. They weren't going to be extravagant, but they were going to be comfortable.
Instead, they'll depend on finding a new job amidst the ghosts of what used to be. In New York, this is Lee Cowan for Eye on America.
As for former Attorney General Janet Reno's future job plans, she wasn't telling today at a Labor Day picnic near Miami, but Democratic sources tell CBS News that Reno is expected to take the first step tomorrow toward a possible run for Florida governor in a bid to unseat Republican incumbent Jeb Bush. And still sporting a beard, former presidential candidate Al Gore made a campaign stop today in Minneapolis. Not for himself, it was a rally for Mayor Sharon Sayles Belton, who's seeking re-election. Gore deflected questions about his own political future. Gusty winds picked up in the fire-plagued West today, hampering the efforts of thousands of firefighters. At least 17 major wildfires are burning in 8 states from the Dakotas to California. 6 of those fires are in Montana, where a firefighter was killed today by a falling tree limb. Also in Montana, a huge blaze in Glacier National Park has now blackened nearly 50,000 acres of timber and is only about 5% contained. Far out in the Atlantic Ocean, tropical storm Erin seems likely to strengthen overnight, but not enough to reach hurricane status. Erin is still more than 1,000 miles from the nearest land, the islands of the Eastern Caribbean. Shark experts insist there is nothing unusual about the number of attacks on swimmers and surfers this summer. If so, it was cruel fate that led to this year's first fatal shark attack in the United States in a place where such incidents are extremely rare. As Tracy Smith reports, it happened this weekend off of Sandbridge Beach in Virginia, which hadn't seen a single shark attack in 30 years.
At Sandbridge Beach, the scene of the attack, a small crowd of people soaked up the last of the Labor Day sun. As helicopters kept watch from above, the few who braved the water stayed fairly close to shore, aware that this beach isn't patrolled by lifeguards. One man who saw the aftermath of the attack was back out swimming today.
On one hand, you remember what happened and, you get a little bit scared, but on the other hand, you just you just still want to go there. I don't know.
And the haunting details of how 10-year-old David Pelletier died are still fresh in the minds of those who loved him. His mother in Richmond, Virginia, is still in shock.
He was pretty much unconscious before he even came out the water. His heart had stopped beating. They brought him back, and he was gone.
David was surfing at dusk Saturday with his father and brothers when a shark grabbed onto his leg, severing a major artery. His father told family friend Paul Rowland how he struggled with the shark to save his son.
And come up right onto the surfboard and tried to take take David, but he wouldn't let go, and he just fought the shark off, and finally ended up prying his mouth open and getting David back to shore.
David died at a local hospital early Sunday morning.
I'm going to remember him as a real happy young kid. I mean, he was very happy and full of love.
Despite all the headlines this summer, shark experts remain unconvinced that these attacks are anything out of the ordinary.
We're not seeing anything unusual in the activity of bait fish around the area, of birds around the area, of the dolphins. Nothing leads us to believe that there's something different going on out there that hasn't happened all summer long or the summer before.
In fact, for the first time in the 2 days since the attack, a shark was spotted about 600 yards offshore. Officials say it poses no threat, and they decided not to close any beaches. John?
Tracy Smith for us tonight on the Labor Day tragedy off of Sandbridge Beach in Virginia. Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a new and promising line of attack against childhood brain cancers. And in Northern Ireland, young children trapped in the crossfire of hate.
Is your small business experiencing growing pains? The U.S. Postal Service has tools to help your small business manage shipping costs, whether your packages are big or small, domestic or international. The U.S. Postal Service, helping small business to deliver the American dream.
Why just use Febreze on the dog bed?
Go, boys.
After all, lots of everyday odors aren't as obvious, at least to you. Clean away odors all over with Febreze.
Wow, nice.
The more you use it, the more you love it. Febreze.
He's at the 10, the 5, fumble!
Get your hands on new Game Day Cheez-It crackers. Football shapes for football fans.
Lots of places offer upgrades. Usually you spend a little more, you get a little more. But in Gateway Country, it's different. You get a lot more. And right now, it's free. When you buy a Gateway Essential 950C featuring the Intel Celeron processor, you get an extra large monitor plus a CD burner. That's 2 big upgrades, all for just $7.99. Now, who could beat that? Who'd even try? Offer ends September 9th, so stop by or call today.
For the first time, researchers have succeeded in using embryonic stem cells to produce human blood cells. University of Wisconsin scientists say the cells appear identical to those produced by bone marrow in the human body. But they caution it could take years to determine whether there will be a useful source for human blood transfusions and other therapies. On another medical frontier tonight, a new discovery about the genetic makeup of some brain cancer tumors in children. Someday, this new knowledge could be the answer to a child's prayer, as Wyatt Andrews reports on the CBS Health Watch.
Great. Following her surgery, 9-year-old Hannah Hunter is recovering from the most malignant form of children's brain cancer, a tumor called medulloblastoma. Her mother can only hope that Hannah's tumor was fully removed before the cancer began to spread.
Just to see her sick as she was. I mean, she was a very healthy little girl up until that point.
Now, however, a ray of hope. Researchers at Children's Hospital in Washington report they found a set of 85 genes that metastasize or spread Hannah's type of cancer. Simply put, they have found the genes that order these tumors to fan out.
This represents a gene that is very highly turned on in an aggressive type of cancer.
Dietrich Stefan is the lead author of the study.
For the first time, have information about what causes these kids to die. Brain tumors in kids have for a long time been a real mystery.
The identification of these genes could one day have a major impact on brain cancer patients like Hannah Hunter. In the future, doctors will know which children need radiation therapy and which children can be spared the ordeal. Today, radiation therapy is standard for all patients, even though doctors have warned Hannah's mother it may permanently damage her ability to learn.
It's ironic that, they have to go through all of this for the cure.
How important would it be to be able to tell some parents your child will not need radiation?
That would be a major advancement because it would allow us to say this particular patient may not need whole brain and spine radiation, which is really the key.
The researchers also found another potential breakthrough. They believe that the class of so-called smart drugs already on the market to neutralize cancers like leukemia may also work to defeat these genes for brain cancer.
Plain and simple, we think these drugs are going to work to save not only lives, but save quality of lives in kids.
For now, Hannah has as much to fear from her radiation therapy as from her cancer. But from the genetic code may come a treatment that both heals and does no harm. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
Tonight's Health Watch report is sponsored by Prescription Prevacid.
The Heartburn Hotel. If you suffer persistent heartburn 2 days a week or more, despite diet change and treatment, it may be acid reflux disease. Prescription Prevacid can mean 24-hour relief from acid reflux disease. Prevacid turns off tiny pumps that produce acid. It has a low occurrence of side effects, such as diarrhea, abdominal pain, and nausea. Ask your doctor if Prevacid is right for you.
So leave your heartburn behind, yeah! It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get back together, come back and see me. Yesterday you'd forgiven me, but it'll still be 2 days till I say I'm sorry.
New faster acting Dawn with flash suds. It powers through tough grease at a speed no other brand can touch. New faster acting Dawn. Get grease out of your way sooner.
The long jump. The dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
When I'm away, my mother's in charge.
Oh, look at Grandma!
I know my kids will eat their vegetables.
Who wants more chocolate?
After dinner, she'll make them rinse the really dirty dishes.
Bingo!
They'll put everything in the right place because Mom loves everything shiny.
Cascade works 2 ways. First, it removes tough stuff. Then, its pure rinse formula leaves a better shine than the leading competitor.
Like mother, like daughter.
Grandma, let's go!
Also in powder and gel.
In the Middle East today, there was violence on both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, including a major gun battle in the divided West Bank city of Hebron. The battle in the center of the city killed at least 2 Palestinians and wounded 2 Israeli soldiers. Earlier, Israeli helicopter gunships rocketed a Palestinian security post, causing heavy damage but no serious injuries. That attack was in retaliation for 4 bombs that exploded earlier in Jerusalem, injuring 3 people. In a tug-of-war over refugees, more than 400 mostly Afghan asylum seekers denied entry by Australia were transferred from a Norwegian cargo ship to an Australian warship. They'll be taken to a temporary camp in Papua New Guinea until an Australian court rules on their asylum request. And dozens of foreign aid workers expelled from Afghanistan for alleged violations of Muslim law have arrived in Pakistan. Afghanistan's Taliban rulers said today that 8 jailed foreign aid workers, including 2 American women, will be tried in open court as soon as tomorrow. They're charged with preaching Christianity, a serious crime under Taliban law. The United States has resumed its investigation of last October's bombing of the Navy destroyer, the USS Cole. FBI and State Department investigators are back in Yemen and may re-interview suspects in the suicide attack that killed 17 sailors. The investigation had been suspended since June when American agents were pulled out of Yemen following a security threat. Next up in the CBS Evening News, an ugly spectacle in Northern Ireland. Religious hatred aimed at children.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets. A whole lot easier to take.
And every bit as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
I should have used Preparation H.
Preparation H medicated wipes with aloe, the easy way to cleanse, cool, and soothe. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. Preparation H medicated wipes, big relief.
What is possible? Does achievement discriminate? Or does it open its doors to everyone?
Abner, we're rich.
We're rich?
It's our new litter. It's got diamonds in it.
You are mistaken, my friends. The diamonds are odor-absorbing crystals in new Tidy Cats Crystals Blend.
Whatever.
New Tidy Cats Crystals Blend.
This weekend, Enterprise Rent-A-Car announces special low rates from just $9.99 a day. Friday till Monday from just $9.99 a day. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
1-800-RENT-A-CAR.
Folgers Decaf. Really good coffee.
Is it the 10? The 5? Fumble!
Get your hands on new Game Day Cheez-It crackers. Football shapes for football fans.
Inside the Gary Condit family, what's going on? We'll have an exclusive with his son, Chad. Wake up to what's happening tomorrow morning on The Early Show with Brian Gumbel and Jane Clayson.
The path to peace in Northern Ireland hit another ugly roadblock today as children walked to school on the first day of the new term. One parent compared it to the abuse suffered by Black American children during the school desegregation struggle a half a century ago. Correspondent Tom Fenton is on assignment in Belfast, a city divided by faith and fences.
Although the people of Northern Ireland have been basking in some fine summer weather, enjoying the benefits of apparent peace, this place is still far from normal. Riot police and the army were today forced to create a safe corridor for Catholic children to walk to school through a Protestant area. The violence underlined the deep-seated hatred between the two communities. More than ever, Belfast is a place of walls and fences which divide Catholics from Protestants.
People live apart more separately.
Paul Bew has watched the communities grow apart as the walls have gone up.
They have not made an investment in a new way of treating each other. They actually chose to live apart more. That's how they manage it.
Some of the walls fit in. They look good. Others, like this one through a city park, are ridiculous. But sometimes, like here, they're just plain ugly. On a good day, you can walk through. You can cross the sectarian divide. But there are bad days, too. The fire that caused this damage was one of those. A couch and chairs were piled up. Gasoline and a match did the rest. It's a metaphor for Northern Ireland. Apparent freedom, a sense of peace, and then it all goes wrong. Joyriders thrashing a stolen car. Their aim to intimidate the Protestants who live behind one of Belfast's biggest walls. This day, it didn't work, but it's a daily game between the communities.
They just want the neighbors from hell to shut up.
The most hotly debated issue between Catholics and Protestants is how to disarm the gunman. Neither side trusts the other enough to make more than a token gesture. But the unspoken issue the Protestant majority has always feared is about to change Northern Ireland forever. the population time bomb. CBS News has learned that unpublished census figures show the faster-growing Catholic community is now almost half the population, 47%. The long-oppressed Catholic minority will soon be the majority. And that fact alone is likely to generate even more ugly scenes like this one. On assignment in Belfast, I'm Tom Fenton, CBS News.
The long jump, the dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get back together, come back and see me. Yesterday you'd forgiven me, but it'll still be 2 days till I say I'm sorry.
It was my grandson's birthday. He just turned 3. We're going to move him out of his crib and buy him a big boy bed. I was on chemo then, and I was exhausted. I said to the doctor, I need help. I'm on a mission.
If you're a chemotherapy patient and feel tired and weak, you may be anemic. Ask your doctor about Procrit. Procrit is a natural way to regain red blood cells lost during chemotherapy. And more red blood cells can mean more strength.
Oh, this is a great one. This is a good one.
Procrit is proven and safe. In studies, only diarrhea and edema occurred more often with Procrit than placebo. Procrit is for patients with non-myeloid cancers.
How do you like it up here now? Good.
Call now and learn how Procrit can help you get back the strength you need.
See? What'd I tell you?
Your strength for living.
He takes a lot of energy, but I never get tired of him.
Can you see a difference? Even people who seem alike can have different nutritional needs. That's why there are 5 different kinds of Ensure to help meet those individual needs. Ensure, high calcium for bone health. Ensure, high protein for muscle. Ensure Plus, for energy. All complete balanced nutrition when you can't eat nutritious foods like these. Give your body the Ensure that's best for you. Drink to your health.
When I started having hot flashes and night sweats at menopause, my doctor recommended hormone replacement therapy, but I didn't listen.
Up to 20% of a woman's expected lifetime bone loss occurs in the years following menopause.
A year later, I went back to my doctor and found I'd shrunk an inch. I went on HRT, and I've been on it for years. My hot flashes and night sweats, gone. I feel great.
HRT is not for all women. Talk to your doctor about the benefits and risks.
The time to protect your future is now.
The Amazing Race begins Wednesday. Critics call it thrilling. Getting there is all the fun. The Amazing Race premieres CBS Wednesday. See you at the starting line.
In tonight's evening news endnotes, a real rags to riches story. Until very recently, 35-year-old Patrick Collier was homeless. But he walked into a McDonald's for breakfast in Holly Hill, Florida, near Daytona Beach, and walked out an instant millionaire in a Labor Day weekend contest. McDonald's is trying to make up for a recent contest marred by fraud. In South Africa, a radio station raising money for charity created the world's biggest flower bouquet, a bloomin' giant, 21 feet high, 12 feet wide, and weighing close to 4 tons. It contains 36,000 flowers. And in San Marcos, Texas, another charity fundraiser and another record, scuba diving police sergeant Dan Masiasek spent 60 hours and 24 minutes. That's more than 2.5 days underwater. He lived on a liquid diet, too. And that's tonight's CBS Evening News for this Labor Day Monday. Dan Rather will be back in this chair again tomorrow. I'm John Roberts, CBS News in New York. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com.